Every day, dollar just they get it higher power over naira. Still them talk say make we off mind, but thank God say my ego don't come. So my people make you ladder, oh, yo yo. My ego don't come, oh yo yo. My people make we shout, oh yo yo. My ego don't come, oh yo yo. My ego don't come, man of the masses, oh yo yo. My ego don't come, oh yo yo. My ego die the political, oh yo yo. My ego don't come, oh yo yo. This one not day off in mind, oh yo yo. My ego don't come, oh yo yo. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that my egun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say my egun diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Woman picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say my egun don't come. So my people make you laugh, oh yo yo. My egun don't come, oh yo yo. My people make you shout, oh yo yo. My egun don't come, oh yo yo. Man of the masses, my ego don't come, oh yeah, yeah. My ego diary politico, oh yeah, yeah. My ego la wamo, la mo do 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 do. My ego diary, my ego number one.
Hello there. Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Bó bá ṣe eré, àní Máyégún máa wí. Ó sì tún ṣe eré, wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o.
Thank you so much for joining me, no matter what the mood of Nigeria is. Ladies and gentlemen, the third biggest or largest demography of those who watches Mayegun's Diary Political more are from Nigeria. So thanks for joining me. Share the broadcast.
Mayegun lawamo, do 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 do. Mayegun Diary, Ani Esuraki.
Thank you. I hope a lot of you are getting yourselves ready to register or sign up for your own 8,000 naira. I mean, jokes apart, are you guys signing up already? Abi 8,000 naira kere ni for family of 6. 8,000 kere. Thank you. Share this broadcast. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends, and tell them that Mayegun today we are starting soon. Thank you. Once again, good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live, and I have come again tonight with all the pieces of happenings all over Nigeria, most especially the ones that affect you directly or indirectly, you know. So tonight, we are starting with the Tinubu's subsidy, 500 billion naira for 12 million families, according to them. We don't know the criteria, but before now, Bokwari has been sharing 5,000 naira to the poorest Nigerians that nobody actually have their data for over 6 or 7 years before Tinubu came. So what Tinubu have done right now is that he has added 3,000 naira to that 5,000 naira. And I have been seeing so much complaints, especially from some of the APC, Abobaku. Like, some of them are like, what is all this? How much is 8,000 naira? What can 8,000 naira buy? What is, you know what I mean? I'm like, 8,000, okay? For 8 solid years, APC, Egbekegbe, promoted poverty, and poverty. In fact, at a point, they were glorifying poverty. If you complained about any kind of hardship in Nigeria, then cost of living, they will ask you, must you feed on such food? Why do you want such things? Why must you continue to have such things? If instead of complaining about them, why don't you go for something else? For example, we know if you buy rice for market again, or can you believe that a bucket of rice is also priced now? It used to be this Buhari for 8 years. They were asking people, then they were telling people, must you eat rice? There is local rice. Even local rice, they no see chop. Until they felt like, you know what? Rice is not even like any of their staple anymore. That was how much they glorified poverty. APC, Egbekegbe, dipped Nigerians in poverty through their policies. People lost their jobs, lost their savings, lost their livelihood. A lot lost their lives too, right? When they dipped them in that poverty, they started sharing 10,000 naira to them. That's one of the glorification of poverty under this criminal. So 8 years, Pastor Ruga was sharing 10,000 naira to the poorest Nigerians so that they can start businesses. And guess what the plan was? They wanted to lift 100 million Nigerians that they dipped in poverty. They wanted to lift them out of poverty by promising them 10,000 naira. And they had a name for it, trader money. You see some of all these, suffering and smiling ass lickers, some of them who are like, oh no, I don't feel sorry for them anyway, right? They were like, do you know what a 10,000 naira mean in the hand of that poor woman in the village? That is their template. Oh, that poor woman in the village, if you give her 10,000 naira, she can turn it around and turn it to 100,000 naira within a space of 6 months. It was a very good initiative. So that adventure cost Nigeria over 6 trillion naira. Kinimokwe, 6 trillion naira in a space of 7 years. The act of giving money, sharing money, Baba, the thing didn't reduce poverty. It escalated it, because the purpose intentionally is not to actually help the poor. It is to mock them and keep them in that poverty. And if there is any political party or group of criminals who celebrate and glorify poverty, there are no other people than APC. You have them in your families, don't you? Some of you have them as friends. At least you saw them during Bokwari's time. Abi? When the economy was tumbling, they were telling you that those who looted Nigeria were the ones who make the economy hard. They were the ones who make the dollar scarce. Oh, they were the ones who were making it hard for him to defend the country. Oh, they were the ones who were like, they were blaming everybody. Why they were suffering? Like hardship was spreading in Nigeria. It was eating them. So you have some of them in your family now, don't you? The ones that will tell you that there's nothing Nigeria is facing. that the other people in the other, part of the world are not facing. If you are talking about Boko Haram in Nigeria, you know those Olori Buruku that you probably were friends or family members with sometimes ago. I don't know if they are still your member of your family. You'll be complaining about the killings in Nigeria. The Ashieres will be telling you about the gun violence in America. Abi, they will say, even in America, every day, anybody can just walk in and, comparison and all that, Abi. Now, when you talk about the falling economy, the increasing poverty, and the rest of that, they will tell you, are there no poor people in the UK? Even in that your UK, there, poor people no day. It's only in Nigeria that we have poor people. The government is trying. Some of these people say they don't want work. They just want people to give them money. Do you not have some of them as your friends or family members? Or you just came across them on social media? There are all these Olori Buruku useless people like that everywhere. They are members of APC. Should we say that APC attracts the Olori Burukus who glorifies poverty, ass lickers, crumb eaters? You know those who are waiting for their turn, the one we call the turn by turn Nigeria Limited. You know what I mean? You saw them under Bukwari? So they are back. They want to help the poor people in today's Nigeria with $10 every month. There is no clear definition of how you are going to access that or who is going to access that. Nothing. Just a pronouncement. They will soon begin to bring the APC form to your communities. Okay? If you are not APC, you won't be offered. And then is an a conduit pipe job for the boys. Now billion you go to here. But Baba, in this hardship, the National Assembly are getting 70 billion. Do you know how much it's going to touch the hand of each lawmaker when they divide that money? Let me explain this to you. Tinubu said the subsidy they removed has made life harder for a lot of you, okay? To the point that some businesses are already cutting, they are already sacking people. Others are offering half salary. Others are offering work from home. Others are even offering some selected days as the days you'll be working and they will pay for. All of these adjustments are going on, right? But so many of you who don't even get job, Abi, that exists in their economy, you are feeling the heat more. People where they dash you money, they know they dash money again. You know why now, Abi? All those nice guys and here and there, they are no longer what they used to be, Abi. All the short areas where you kind of have your own in your joblessness, so you have your own way of hustling here and there. Among those who had jobs or have businesses, everybody is cutting down now. A lot of people are watching, they are looking at their cars, and they will prefer to call those they normally go and spend the weekends with. All these adjustments, Kolu said, they have figured out that even though over 140 million Nigerians are living in, not just in poverty, extreme poverty. Nigeria, you see the population of Nigeria as it is, the data shows that over 80% of Nigerians are poor, like poor. But out of them, 140 million of them, they are in like extreme multi-dimensional poverty, kind of. And it's getting worse, if you will say. So, if they have 140 million and they are picking 12 million families, which is roughly put at maybe 70 million, that's like half of the people living in extreme poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think 8,000 naira can actually procure and help in the life of 6 people in a household who are receiving government support of $10? Insincere, let's just be sincere, Abi. Some are saying, but all are in bad. Okay. Then why they complain? When we have seen some of these APC, Egbekegbe guys, like, wait till they go take that one by cassava gari or ewa. Kolu declared state of emergency on food. and he ordered that grains should be released from the silo. Who are those who are going to receive these grains? Who are those who are going to distribute them? Who are those who are going to be the beneficiaries, like end beneficiaries? Kolu also announced that he has made provision for 500,000 acres of land, hectares of land. That's massive. No detail is given. And they said this 500,000 hectares of land will be allocated to the young people in Nigeria who want to go into farming. So they'll give you money. You go into farming, they'll give you land. Now the question is, whose land is Kolu allocating? And which part of Nigeria are these 500,000 hectares of land coming from? When did they allocate the land? I mean, we would love to know, Abi, just like the 8,000 naira from the 500 billion, okay? So we'd love to know whose land. But there is an explanation I almost missed, right? 8,000 naira for your household, okay? Anywhere that one feel block, any kind of a poverty that one feel fight, manage them. But it is coming from the 500 billion naira World Bank loan, okay? Now, that's not the only money they took. They took up to 819 billion naira. It's a loan request they've made in the 2023 budget, okay? Now, because of the noise of subsidies, this subsidy, that, that is why Tinubu now wrote the National Assembly and said, I need 500 billion from that. As he was asking for 500 billion, which when they start dividing it, we don't know how they arrived at 8,000 naira. We don't know how they arrived at 12 million people or household. They just flung the figures out there to make it look massive. There is no data, real data to back it up. You can't ask them to provide or produce that 12 million household and their data. They can't produce them. Do you understand? For 6 or 7 years, Bukwari's government said they have been giving that same 5,000 naira to 10 million household. What Tinubu did is that Tinubu told the National Assembly, I want to give 8,000 naira to poorest Nigerians. And this is just coming from Bukwari's 5,000 naira to 10 million household. Remember? So Tinubu is going to give 8,000, extra 3,000, and extra 3,000 naira, and extra 2 million household. Just numbers, just throw it out there. 12 million household, and 8,000 naira, and 500 billion naira. There is no details that are behind that. If he's going to be asking for the 500 billion every month for the next 6 months, which will make it 3 trillion naira in 6 months, that is exactly 90% of what they actually budgeted for subsidy in 2023 budget. 4.5 trillion naira is what Bukwari budgeted for subsidy in 2023 budget. Now, what is not clear about Tinubu's 500 billion is that, is he going to be taking that 500 billion every month in order to make sure that you collect your 80,000 naira for the next 6 months? That's exactly, that's what he said. Okay, so I don't know how they arrive at that. 8,000 naira to 12 million household, 500 billion to be shared by them all. So as he was making that request from the National Assembly, they now told him, what about us? We are also suffering. There is hardship in Nigeria. We need to settle down. We need something to settle down, to settle our body down. That's how the total number of 469 people, senators and reps, that's how they cornered 70 billion. Do you know how much will touch each of them's hand when they divide that money among themselves? That's 70 billion. Each of them will collect 124 million 245 or so thousand naira. Listen to me again. As they are giving you your own share of 8,000 naira, your family, household, okay? Each senator and rep, they are going to be collecting 124 million or thereabouts. Each of them, whether they are from Labour Party, they are from ABGAO, They are from PDP, they are from APC, all of them, 469 of them. Because all of you needed money for poor people, they had to take their cut. Then Nigeria have been a National Judicial Council. They also get a cut. 35 billion naira for the judges in Nigeria, well, for the National Judicial Council. People have already seen that as the direct bribe. You know what they call the authority stealing? Authority stealing, fella. This is what authority stealing mean. Allocation for the NJC. Allocation, they know you add 1, 2, 3 or so more, just make it look legit. A Ministry of Agriculture, we wanted to go and pay people affected by flooding. Ministry of Works, we wanted to go and look around for any damaged bridges that you can fix. So we need all this money. And that's how Tinubu will be taking out nearly 800 billion naira first cash out. And he said he declared state of emergency on food in Nigeria. I'm coming to that. But yeah, is how Dele Alake, Abidele Alakori put it out. We'll listen. First part.
The country. As a hands-on leader who follows developments across the country every day, the president is not unmindful of the rising cost of food and how it affects the citizens. While availability is not a problem, affordability has been a major issue to many Nigerians in all parts of the country. This has led to a significant drop in demand, thereby undermining the viability of the entire agriculture and food value chain. Accordingly, and in line with this administration's position on ensuring that the most vulnerable are supported, the president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1, a state of emergency on food security. 2, that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council. Now, as a direct and immediate response to this crisis, a number of initiatives will be deployed in the coming weeks to reverse this inflationary trend and guarantee future uninterrupted supplies of affordable foods to ordinary Nigerians. As with most emergencies, there are immediate, medium, and long-term interventions and solutions. In the immediate term, this government intends to deploy some savings from the fuel subsidy removal into the agricultural sector, focusing on revamping the agri sector. In an earlier meeting today with the agri stakeholders, we drafted a memorandum of partnership between the government and the individual stakeholders' representatives that encompasses the decisions taken and actions proposed from our engagements. The immediate intervention strategies are as follows. 1, we will immediately release fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to mitigate the effects of the subsidy removal. 2, there will be an urgent synergy between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Water Resources to ensure adequate irrigation of farmlands and to guarantee that food is produced all year round. As a country, Mr. President has made it clear that we can no longer be comfortable with seasonal farming. We can no longer afford to have farming downtimes. We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items. Through this board, government will moderate spikes and dips in food prices. To achieve this, therefore, we have the following stakeholders on board to support the intervention effort of President Tinubu: the National Commodity Exchange, seed companies, National Seed Council and Research Institutes, NIRSAL Microfinance Bank, Food Processing / Agri Processing Associations, private sector holders and prime anchors, smallholder farmers, crop associations, and fertilizer producers, blenders, and suppliers associations, just to mention a few. We will engage a security architecture to protect the farms and the farmers so that farmers can return to the farmlands without fear of attacks. The CBN will continue to play a major role of funding the agricultural value chain. 6. Activation of land banks. There is currently 500,000 hectares of already mapped land that will be used to increase availability of arable land for farming, which will immediately impact food output. Mechanization and land clearing. The government will also collaborate with mechanization companies to clear more forests and make them available for farming. 7. River basins. There are currently 11 river basins that will ensure planting of crops during the dry season with irrigation schemes that will guarantee continuous farming production all year round to stem the seasonal glut and scarcity that we usually experience. Number 8.
Number 8. Just wait. So hear that, Abi. First, everything is saying there, consider them as word salads, just lies. I have my reason for telling you all of this, so lies. They sounded good, like, okay, they want to set up this. Okay, I'll explain them to you in layman terms, okay? So, according to Dele Alakori, Tinubu had now upgraded. First, he has declared state of emergency on food in Nigeria. Now, he has upgraded them, the issue of food. He has upgraded that to the state of National Security Council. So, the level of hunger that they have acknowledged is that it requires the level of attention they give to security and few other serious conversation like that. National security, that's the food. Then in that announcement, Dele Alakori said that Tinubu has ordered, well, it's going to start and set up a sort of pricing or monitoring board. The people that will be determining how much commodities should cost in Nigeria. Sure, you get. Okay. Now, quickly, that's exactly what they are doing with fuel subsidy. Okay. So they are like, oh, we can't produce the oil. We can't refine the oil. But if you can go and buy the oil and bring it to us, we'll buy it from you. Or we can buy the difference from you. Like, instead of you selling it for so price, we can ask you to sell it for so price and give you the difference. Subsidy kind of, right? That is what Dele Alakori is trying to read out in there, because I can't buy my goods, right, at a certain price, and another board will tell me I should sell it at this so price. It doesn't work that way. Sure, you know. And they know that. But nevertheless, word salad, we're going to set up a board. National Kiniko Pricing Board, Monitoring Board. They have something like that in Nigeria, but it never works, and it will never work. You don't determine how much people will sell their stuff when you have no real money that you gave to them, when you're not the one who gave them the money for their businesses. It's not state-owned businesses, right? Then Dele Alakori said, Tinubu has ordered that they should release some grains to some households. Like I kind of rhetorically asked the other time, like, who are those who are going to receive the grains? And who are those who they will give the grains to? Are they going to be given to them for free as poor people? And what will qualify you as poor people to access such grains? You know what I mean? But there is no clarity. It's all bobo. Bo. When Bokwari came to government in 2015, he made similar announcements. Those ones I can remember that are so similar to what this Tinubu is doing. And you know what? How that ended up? When Bokwari came in, first he announced that to fight Boko Haram, he was relocating the Nigeria operation headquarters, Nigerian Army operation headquarters, to the war front in Borno. They dressed him up to look like he was going there to go and crush the Boko Haram and the rest. Remember that time, eh? And at the end of the day, we know how that panned out, Abi. First week or first month of Boko Haram, he announced Babashir Lawal as the secretary to the government of Nigeria, Abi. And in the office of Babashir Lawal, they put in the rehabilitation, the resettlement, Abi, the relocation, Abi, whatever, of the victims of Boko Haram back to their different communities, build houses for them, get them to see, you know what I mean? That money is what later became part of that Babashir Lawal's sack. That, you know, the grass cutter using 242 million naira to cut grass around the IDP camps because of snakes. In that same period, Boko Haram opened, he came out and he announced that they should release a certain amount of grains from Nigeria silos. When they released the grains, they said it came to a total of 214 trucks. 214 trucks. That's how much, you know, those 16 tire trailers. 214 of them loaded grains from Nigeria silos. En route to the NEMA location, National Emergency Management Agency. 150 trucks disappeared. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 150 bags of grains. 150 trucks disappeared. Only, only 64 made it to their destination. And it became a big news then, remember? Only for them to tell us later that the 150 truck of grain that Boko Haram released to go and they said that money, they said it was meant to be given to the people in IDP camp, the victims of the people displaced by terrorism. 150 trucks disappeared. They later found them at a warehouse. The grains, they found them at a warehouse in Kano. They've rebagged them. They've rebagged them into different names and they're already selling them in Kano. That was under Boko Haram, the first 2-3 months of Boko Haram, in case if you have forgotten. I'll remind you more because Tinubu is going to do the same soon. They said the first announcement was to make sure that to fight hunger, Boko Haram was going to give 5,000 naira to the poorest Nigerians. That was when they opened the shop for Shadia. Even though Pastor Ruga actually started it, by the way. It was Pastor Ruga that started it. All of this were like, they are doing something for the poor and the rest. Now today they have left you poorer. No be so. So Tinubu is now announcing that in his own way, they have also allocated land. And you know, when the issue of land comes up, let us be honest. Gone are the days when governments would normally take your land and say, government want to use the land for this, and that, and they will pay you small tertiary compensation, and you forget it. Anybody will know Tinubu very well. And the issue of land, especially in that Lagos state, the people of Etiosa, especially all of you who are in that Etiosa, all those axes, with Tinubu, you will be alarmed when they say 500,000 hectares of your land have been mapped. No detail. Where and where? For 8 solid years. One of the reasons why Nigeria remains so divided and likely never going to come united was the issue of trying to use the state power, the federal government power, to take people's land in order to placate Fulani terrorists that claim that they are killing people because people don't want to give them their lands. Now we know that it's not actually our land they need. It's resources under the ground, under the land. And they are ready to wipe us out of those lands. So for 8 years that we fought Bokwari and his jihadist people, now Tinubu will come the map land, Abi. They won't give land for farming, to give land to youths and the rest. And you think it's not a bobo. In today's Nigeria, anybody will wake up and say, I am taking the land for national clinic or for farming. In Nigeria, that's when you will know that they have no plan of anything. But that one was just like an add-on, okay? So that they will say, come and take money, go and start farm. Go and start farming. So that you can go into food production, blah, 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 blah. More we hear the other parts. They're all lies, oh. That's how you will trash them. Then we then go into the real thing. Right? Here.
Number 8. The government will deploy concessionary capital flow funding to the sector, especially towards fertilizer, processing, mechanization, seeds, chemicals, equipment, feed, labor, etc. The concessionary funds will ensure food is always available and affordable, thereby having a direct impact on Nigeria's Human Capital Index, HCI. This administration is focused on ensuring the HCI numbers, which currently ranks as the 3rd lowest in the world, are improved for increased productivity. 9. The cost of transporting agricultural products has been a major challenge due to permits, toll gates, and other sundry costs. When the cost of moving farm produce is significantly impacted, it will immediately be passed to the consumers, which will affect the price of food. The government will explore other means of transportation, including rail and water transportation, to reduce freight costs and in turn impact the food prices downwards. As for storage, existing warehouses and tanks will be revamped to cut waste and ensure efficient preservation of food items. 10. The government will increase revenue from food and agricultural exports. As we ensure there is sufficient affordable food for the populace, we will concurrently work on stimulating the export capacity of the agri sector. 11. Trade facilitation. Transportation, storage, and export will be improved by working with the Nigerian customs. That has assured us that the bottlenecks experienced in exporting and importing food items, as well as intra-city transportation through tolling, will be removed. 12. The government will change the way we have been doing livestock business, away from the archaic method to the modern way acceptable worldwide. We will establish ranches in collaboration with state government, and the federal government will pay for the land. These are some of the immediate interventions this government will put in place to tackle this food crisis. Principally, one of the major positive outcomes of these interventions will be a massive boost in employment and job creation. Indeed, agriculture already accounts for about 35.21% of employment in Nigeria, the figures of 2021. The target is to make this figure rise significantly in the long term. President Tinubu's mandate to create jobs for our teeming youth population will be achieved with between 5 to 10 million more jobs created within the value chain, working with the current 500,000 hectares of arable land and the several hundreds of thousands more farmlands to be developed in the medium term. In closing, therefore, this administration understands that food and water are the bedrock of survival, and therefore is calling on all Nigerians to partner with us in ensuring the success of this strategic intervention.
We will work with you to build a Nigeria that is not corrupt. I bring you a message of hope. We are going to spend a lot of resources on education. We will
it could be annoying, right? And I think calling him Dele Alakori is not really wrong. You see all the nonsense he read there, right? I told you they are all lies. But at the same time, there are also hidden coded messages, okay, that are indirectly way of even exposing the real intention apart from what they are reading out. Let's speak them one after the other. When he said number 8, and he said the government is doing a lot to reduce the cost of transportation of farm produce. All right. And they are looking into maybe building rails, rail to farms. These are the Olori Burukus that simple economic theory they couldn't do. But when they fail in that simple one, they are promising you something that you can wait till you die. It will never happen. What are the simple ones? One primary reason why the cost of food is mostly high is cost of transportation. And why is the cost of transportation high? Because the cost of liter of fuel. Now, a driver will charge his own clients, right? He will charge his own passengers based on how much he paid for his gas. And when you charge your passengers, they too would have to charge their own customers the cost of the goods, the cost of the service, the cost of transportation. Now, if you want to cut down the cost of food crisis or whatever in Nigeria, or food transportation in Nigeria, isn't it the first thing to do is not to fix your refinery, produce your own oil locally? So the second reason why a lot of people, the cost of food, apart from transportation, is storage. I have been hearing about the wastage that comes from the food harvest in Nigeria because of poor storage system. Now, a responsible government, ordinarily, would be what? Would be investing in that, you will say, other than just the talk, 8 years of APC, there was nothing like that. So everybody was on their own. Then Dele Alakori moved further, talking about food exports. Then he moved on. He talked about government of Nigeria will build ranches. Every back door. Bring in Ruga. Bring in your grazing route and all the nonsense. Cattle colony. Well, you are welcome to the party. That's part of this why you know that Tinubu is what? Is lying. Tinubu knows he will not dare. No trick. Bokwari wanted to use the federal government gazette trick to take people's lands. It didn't work. They used different campaign, intimidation, threats. So Tinubu want to come and take 500,000 hectares of land. For what? On the one part, they said they want to give it to the youth, jobless youth, to go into farming. On the other hand, the same 500,000 hectares of land they mentioned, they said they have mapped the place all over Nigeria. They want to buy it from you. They will pay you. Then they will open ranches. For who? You are welcome to the party. Tinubu. As mad as Bokwari was, as daring as he was, he met his match across Nigeria because everyone could see through the real agenda. So you won't come, Anyway, Dele Alakori mentioned that. Whose money are they going to use to buy the land? Your money. Who are those who are going to own the land? Themselves. If you ever think that they are actually going to give any land to any of you, you are joking. You will work there as their serfs, as their slaves, as it should be. This is them. This is their turn. mapping where they can map and give them to themselves. At the end of the day, they will ask you, why can't you go and grow your own food if you are waiting for whatever they are producing from those places? His friends, local and foreign, they've mapped everywhere they wanted to own in Nigeria, including Yoruba land, and they want to smuggle that through their whatever, creating and helping food supply in Nigeria. When one of the reasons why food production in Nigeria died a violent death is because of the Fulani terrorism that has been killing and chasing the farmers out of their farms across Nigeria, not just in northern Nigeria, including southern Nigeria. So yeah, I appreciate the fact that they said they are going to protect the farmers. Bukwari invested over 5 trillion naira on his own bogus agriculture agenda. He shut the borders in Nigeria. Well, he shut the southern border and opened the northern border for the terrorists. That's what happened. All because Bukwari said he wanted to improve agriculture in Nigeria. How did that go? Half of all the farms have been completely taken over by the terrorists. When the produce came out, the terrorists were harvesting them. The farmers that Nigeria gave money to, fertilizer to, in northern Nigeria, they ended up in the custody of the terrorists. So they started working as their own way of paying their taxes to the terrorists. They are harvesting everything Nigeria bought. They are giving them to the terrorists. Under the Nigeria government, everything perished under Bukwari. Security, that's what I mean. Security. But the likes of Tinubu and gang, let them kind of flow and enjoy the ride. And for those who are complaining, I'm going to advise you to please watch it, okay? To some people, it is not really that bad. With 8,000 naira, sure. What do you call it? You should be able to kind of, that shouldn't be so much of a complaint, right? Anyway, going forward, I'm coming back to that too. So we heard that, in fact, hang on, I want to hear this first. Kuka, Bishop Kuka, yes. Is that Kuka?
Do we resemble a democracy? Do we work like a democracy? Do we talk like a democracy? Because the very fact that up till now, months after our elections and after swearing in a president, we still don't know who is going to be the president of Nigeria until the Supreme Court is over. Very much akin to the introduction of the video assistant referee in football, in which case we are like a man who has scored a goal. But we have to wait for the referee to go to VAR and confirm whether it was a goal or not a goal. It's not evident, it is a symptom of how modest our claim should be. Because we very often confuse the very fact that we're in a civilian administration with the notions of being in a democracy. That if we cannot fix our electoral process, which is the defining law for how to choose leaders in a democracy, then we must be modest in our saying that we're in a democracy. We have seen the worst face of corruption in Nigeria. Femi Falana, my friend here, will speak about that because he's published a series of articles talking about what happened under the Buhari administration. They were not the ones who caused corruption, but I think in the last administration we saw the ugliest face of corruption in many, whether in moral terms, financial terms, or other terms. And I'll mention that before I close. We have a country that we are now sharing with bandits. Our very sovereignty, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, is under assault because we have non-state actors, whether you call them bandits or Boko Haram. It is that the entire territorial integrity of the nation is at stake. Because nobody is excited now about being a Nigerian. Whether you are president, whether you are senator, no matter who you are, everybody is working with his, with bated breath, because we don't know. We are literally now being held hostages, by people that are a threat to the very existence of our democracy and our country. Our judiciary is in a crisis of perception, but also based on the experiences that Nigerians have had. It will not be surprising if ordinary Nigerians think that the only thing the Supreme Court does is to look at election petitions. Because we're looking up to the Supreme Court to help extend the frontiers of democracy and human freedoms. But very often, those institutions with Nigerians perceive that they've now become so severely, compromised. That has
lunatics have taken over asylum. There is no reason for anybody to cry over the spilled milk. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on your screen is because this man mentioned Supreme Court, so sure you get. I want you to know that today, from what we heard, the PARM, one of those challenging Tinubu's election, they have started the process of submitting their own, what do you call it? Closing address or written address. They have a name for it, written address. That is when they are going to sort of everything you have heard from both sides. They will do all the argument in one sentence written, and I mean, so no one said one written address, and then the judges will say, we are going to give our judgment on so day. So according to the timetable you have on your screen, the part that has been completed or concluded in their presidential election petition tribunal. So on the 17th of July, it is expected that the respondents' addresses will last for 10 days or nearly. Then the petitioner's address, which is Peter Obi, Atiku, and that, right? That one will come up. The respondent's address, like INEC or Tinubu, I don't know which one is first or second. Anyway, will be there, and that will be the 1st of August. Now, after these dates, you can begin to count down to when is likely going to be the judgment. The last day is put at the 16th of September, so which is by their law will be 180 maximum. I mean the 180 days, which is allowed by their law. And from other further information as well, they said that the Supreme Court, after this, will have 2 months to review the judgment of the tribunal, all right, and give their own judgment within 2 months. So in all of this, we expect that this whole thing will end latest by December 2023, before December or by December, according to those who put together this detail. And the consequences today, for those who are still lying to themselves, in case some of you don't know how this actually works, okay? When Tinubu and his gang, when they started the abracadabra announcement on the exchange rate, let me remind you what they said. According to the new guy they announced as your central bank acting governor, you've not heard from him a lot. Meanwhile, Emefiole has been charged to court. Okay, they charged him to court for money laundering, terrorism, and then economic sabotage or something like that. So the court said they must charge him within a week or let him go. Now they charge him to court, and the court has said that his arrest is invalid or something like invalid or illegal. Now the court has told the DSS to let Emefiole leave now. But that's the story for another time anyway. Well, here is the first one. Your new central bank governor, right, who you probably don't know. I don't even know him, but I remember his face, by the way. Like, I feel like I'm seeing his face right now. But this guy came out and they said their own policy idea of how to end multiple exchange rates in Nigeria is that they are now making it a free-for-all. Let the market forces determine what the exchange rate will be. Whatever that even means in economics. I'm not an economist, right? I'm a layman who actually read a bit about economics as well. This doesn't make any sense. In economics, right, they say economy operates based on demand and supply. Sure you get. So if I'm making a demand, and you don't have some kind of supply, so what happens is that the price will go up if the demand is more than supply. But if you have more supply than demand, the price will go down. That's how it works, Abi. But you don't treat exchange rates that people actually use in trade like that, in my own opinion. No. I believe that when it comes to, currency versus currency in trade, right? The strength of that currency will determine the value of what trade they represent. For example, Naira as a value, right? A currency that represents a country of the most populous black nation on earth, 200 million people, has no real value, no real nothing to back it up. Initially, for years, Nigeria Naira was backed with Nigeria crude oil. Last 8 years has skeletoned all of that. It has shown that your Naira has become vulnerable to the point that everywhere they go to borrow money, they have to kind of weigh the Naira, and they found that there's nothing behind it. Now you have these new economists who are coming to rescue Nigeria, the professionals, so those who know what they are doing. So they came with the idea. They said, in order to reduce or remove all multiple exchange rates, what happened is that we'll just let the market decide that, which means anywhere where you see dollar, buy them. Anywhere where you see pound sterling, buy them. But what happened is they are going to pump some dollars or currency into the banks. So their own way is that, you know what, we can no longer say the CBN exchange rate is 450. The black market exchange rate is 750 to $1. Now, what we have now is that we are going to move our exchange rate to 610 Naira. That's the official rate in Nigeria. This new economist to 610 Naira. But we are going to put some dollars in some banks so that when people, we can then tell people to go there at the rate of 6. Maybe we can now tell the banks how much they must sell the dollars or the forex by adding 1 Naira or 2 Naira or 50 kobo. So if they give it to them at 610 Naira, the banks are expected to sell them to you at 610, 11 Naira or 610 Naira, 50 kobo. So that's how they want to determine. But what they don't understand is that with the level of the gap that the corruption under Bukwari has created, Nigeria has no real reserve anymore that is so good enough, okay, to meet up the volume of demand. I will explain that to you. The volume of demand for dollars will continue to rise since the production in Nigeria continues to depreciate. Nigeria depends more on importing most of what they need. And if you want to buy anything from out there, the major exchange is the dollars. So when you have your Naira, you must be ready to buy the dollars at whatever rate anybody with that dollar want to sell them. Now, if you are so desperate, there's possibility that you will have to pay more, okay? So Nigeria has nothing to back it. So when the volume of demand is there, you must be a country, like for example, to crash dollar and Naira using that technique, not production, right? Using technique of pumping money into it means you must at least have bulk of dollars on a steady supply. For example, you must be able to produce or provide volume of, for example, a country like Nigeria, let's say $10 every month. I mean, 10